haven't been able to wear my vest very much lately. I haven't actually been outside really at all, it seems like, for weeks, because we've been working on all these house projects, and then also, well, it's just been extremely cold. If you saw my last video, it's been like 25 to 30 below wind chill, or somewhere around there for a few days straight. So today it's actually fairly nice out, but like the typical things that happen here in the Midwest in the quote-unquote springtime, even though today is January 27th, it's not spring, but it's windy. Always windy in the spring. I guess that it looks like the springtime wind is here in January. Yeah, told ya. Really nice clean windshield. Shows you how much dust. We have not had any moisture of any kind, and just windy, dusty. That's better. The ground has definitely moved a lot right now, just with our frost and how much has been frozen. This door used to open easily. Natural door stop. When I put this four-wheeler away, I tried to start it one other time about 2 weeks after I put it in here, and it was not starting. So very unlikely that it's going to today. So I either need to try to jump this thing, or I'll have to like try to pull it up the hill or something, I'm not sure. But hopefully I can just jump it. I've never had any issues with it before, but it's starting to be intermittent. My door stop didn't hold. It's not really very old. It has 77 hours on it currently. So let's give this a shot. Yeah, it's either that or it's just not enough power to get the starter going. They put the battery in a very dumb location. It's underneath all of this here. I don't remember. Basically underneath, way back in here. So if I remember correctly, I'm trying to think of how I got to that. I think I took this piece off last time. There's just these little clips right here. I think I took those off, and then I can access it. I don't know, I'm sorry to tell you, all you engineers out there, but sometimes I just don't know what you guys are thinking. And this is another moment. So this clip already broke. That one is half broken right now, so I'm just trying to take it out of there. Usually already hurt myself like I always do somehow. And I can't get this thing out of here. There we go. Stupid. So what's one of the most important pieces of a vehicle? Battery. They give you no room to work here. This whole thing is all strapped in, and yeah, it's just annoying. It says it's ready. Well, it's definitely a failure so far, but I'm going to charge that little battery thing and see if it just doesn't have enough juice to get this whole thing going, and maybe try it again tomorrow. So I got a little time yet today before the sun's going to go down, so maybe I'll go out and see if I can get any sort of footage around sunset or some photos or something, just to get my frustration of this project off of my mind today.
When I head out to explore the countryside, sometimes I have a location in mind, but oftentimes I just drive. It frees my brain to start seeing the world and all of the surroundings as something I can capture. And then it's up to me to figure out the composition and make it look beautiful through the camera lens. That's the more difficult part. There's one thing I do pay attention to on the maps, and that would be level beat roads. These are usually just natural soil roads that give farmers access to their fields, but since they may only need them a few times a year, they aren't maintained like the other gravel roads. I made it back in time for a few minutes of sunset play with Marty. So of course I did not have my camera running, but I came back down here to the shipping container today to try to get that thing started. I had that battery pack on the charger all night. I let it get to 100%, then I came down here and I tried it probably 3 or 4 times. I could never get it to go to the fully ready position, which is what it says on the instructions it's supposed to be when it's ready to go. But I let it sit on there for a few minutes and I was about to give up. And then I tried it one more time on like the 4th or 5th try and it finally started. So I got that little battery pack thing last year, I think. I've never had one of these little battery things. They are kind of handy to have, and if you're interested in something like that, they're not really very expensive. Might be something to look at. Sometimes it feels like a waiting game as I watch for golden hour. Today I walked our own trails as some areas fell into darkness, while others held on to those last few moments of light. We never take any of this for granted.
Is it warm today? You need sunglasses.
Well, it's supposed to be in the mid-50s today, and it's still January on the calendar, so, you know, I would say that this is kind of abnormal, but it's been happening a lot lately, so I don't know what's normal anymore or not. Gonna take advantage today because it's also somehow not extremely windy. As I just mentioned, it's been extremely windy. Usually whenever it warms up, we get a lot of the southern wind here, and where we're at as far as kind of exposed out on this hill, it's always windy. But today, not so bad, so I think we're going to actually try to get outside, enjoy a little bit of the sunshine, try to come up with a plan for a few projects that we have coming up this season, and maybe go walk down the creek or something that we haven't done for a very, very long time. We'll see what happens. Somehow, no matter how much space you have, you find places for all this other stuff to go. So, downsizing a bunch of this, a lot of this stuff just needs to be figured out as far as keep, go, and consolidate equipment and all that stuff. But it's always a work in progress. The other thing we have a lot of work to do on is tree cleanup. I noticed just driving around a little bit yesterday that there's a lot of trees down. I don't know if they're just all getting to a point where they're kind of at that age that they're starting to become brittle. I mean, most of the trees here are not great trees, so we're planning on definitely planting some more over time. Hopefully maybe just getting a huge bulk order of some small ones and starting to just kind of put them out in the woods in between things as they die. But in general, a lot of stuff just has been neglected here for a very, very long time, and so little by little we're gonna work on that. And this little drainage creek out here by the garden on the other side has a lot of stuff that we want to clean up. I think once we get that cleaned up, that whole area will just look so much better. And this whole area back here too, just behind the house, a lot of junky trees, but I'm just trying to get them cleaned up a little bit more.
That is, well, that is 12 feet.
Then measure this distance this way so we see.
So
You were gonna do 20?
yeah. Yeah, I was thinking it was close to 30 feet. So I'm at 30 feet right now.
Okay, so you basically split the difference and put it in the middle?
Yeah.
So this would be your corner, and then you got...
Even if I did 12
could-
though, you could still, I think it'd still be fine.
We could just mow more of this down, but I want to make sure that if you're gonna even have a trailer on or
You can come around
like
it.
with the Can-Am.
But this is 2 additional feet.
Yeah.
So even if you'd still have plenty, I think, to come around it.
I mean, it's obviously gonna be tight on this, like, towards the bank, but it should work.
Yeah.
So that's another upcoming project that we're hoping to work on this spring. It's about a 12 by 20 garden shed that Kelsey wants maybe make part of it into a little greenhouse or something, and she has an idea for that, so she's gonna design all that out. This garden area also is very, very wet, that we've learned how the water kind of comes off this nearby field, so we're gonna have to do some site work over here to hopefully try to fix some of that so that we don't have long-term problems with all that. But this was just an area that we picked because it's fairly close to the house, and this is also just kind of a makeshift fence that we put in. It's worked totally fine for the last couple of years, but it's time to spend a little more time and effort to make it something that's better and that's going to be more long lasting for us. And last year, you know, for almost all of our meals during the growing season, we had at least one type of thing from the garden or something that was canned from the garden, and so we're really going to lean more onto that as much as possible. Just all that clean eating stuff, it really makes a difference. As you probably know, if you go to the store and look at some of the ingredients on things, it's very hard to find anything that is that clean. So coming straight out of the garden, can't get much better than that.
Pull down some of that dead brush. I don't even hear water underneath.
No, it's under there though, because I went down to the camp yesterday and it was running.
Okay.
I was just talking about bad trees, and here's a good example.
Okay, look at all those black eyed berries. Crazy. That needs to be trimmed.
What was that?
The pattern in the ice. Well, it looks like there's an access point up here, because I've never really been to this side. I don't really know what this thing is.
That looks more like the multiflora.
Yeah, it does, because I think you're right. I think those are rose hips. That is at, I mean, if you stood those up, they are at least 10 feet tall.
Yeah, so all of this really just, I wish we could just do a big burn and it would all go away.
Well, it needs to be done, because, I mean, this is probably 20 plus years of overgrowth with, I mean, you can tell somebody worked over here at one point because there are
Yeah.
clumps of brush. So you can tell they did something over here, but
At some point they just gave up.
yeah.
It was 30 below wind chill, and this moss does not care. It's still fine and green.
It's not too often that we grill steaks in January, but on this night we definitely did. Late night fog turned into morning rain showers. How fitting for a week of spring in January.
Let's see what's going on around here, boy.
He's just slightly bigger.
Look at Joe.